What's more valuable when the leadership of a major corporation is concerned? The freshness and creativity of a young man, or the wisdom and self-confidence of an experienced executive? Most people would agree this is a tricky question, since the answer depends on many factors such as the nature of the organization and its business strategy. Today, we'll meet two CEOs that fit each of those characteristics and have their particular ways of running the multinational companies they're in charge of. Different industries, different approaches, but one thing in common, the aptitude for leading. That's what links CEOs Carlos Ghosn, the head of the giant automobile alliance Renault-Nissan, and Franz Koch, who runs the world-renowned sports brand Puma. We'll learn more about these two leaders' management styles today on CEOs Unveiled. Carlos Ghosn is the CEO of two of the major car manufacturers in the world, Renault and Nissan. The Brazilian-born Lebanese businessman achieved a superhero status in Japan after he successfully rescued Nissan from bankruptcy in 2003. Since then, under Ghosn's leadership, the alliance Renault-Nissan has proactively embraced frugal engineering and become one of the world's leading producers of electric cars and low-cost vehicles, two of the fastest-growing and most promising market segments in the global automotive sector.
I was very excited to take a chance like this. I knew it was risky. At the same time, it was Japan. For anybody involved in the car industry, Japan is a very fascinating place. And it was a huge learning experience, you know, going in a country that you didn't know, with a culture you didn't know, and contributing to revive a large flagship of in the car industry based in Japan is something that doesn't happen twice in a lifetime. So I decided to take it, but I knew also that there were a lot of risks, and probably I could be a casualty if this was not turning right. So I would say I accepted because I wanted the challenge, I was excited by it, and I was ready to accept failure as one of the outcomes. Because if you don't accept failure, you should not try it.
For orchestrating one of the decade's most aggressive downsizing campaigns and leading the turnaround of Nissan from near liquidation, Ghosn earned the nicknames Le Cost Killer and Mr. Fix-It, and has even been portrayed as a manga comic book superhero in the true story of Carlos Ghosn. But looking back at his trajectory, the executive modestly claims these things happened to him as a natural consequence of his career path, as he affirms he never planned to be a CEO.
I was not born to say, okay, I want to be CEO. No, I was not. It happened to me. I was developing my career, and I was approaching the top level of the company, and you know, I was at Michelin at the beginning. I was one of the main executives of the company, and then Louis was there, made the proposal to join Renault, saying, you know, if this is successful, you may become the CEO of Renault. I said, well, this is a nice perspective. But I was not obsessed with it. I never said, well, this is my goal in life. I didn't. I said, well, you know what? If I'm the best person, I will take it. And that's one of the reasons for which when the possibility to go to Nissan came, I didn't stick in my job at Renault by saying I want to become the CEO of Renault. You know, I don't want to take a risk. I'm on the right track to become the CEO of Renault. I'm not going to take a risk. I said, no, let me take Nissan. You know, let me try to revive Nissan. Because I knew if this was a failure, all your dreams would be shattered in terms of professional career. But if it was a success, it would change completely the perspective.
Fluent in French, Arabic, English and Portuguese, and fast learning Japanese, Ghosn's routine seems much busier than the ones of most archetypical businessmen. Running two of the world's biggest car companies means splitting his time between Paris and Tokyo, and fitting in meetings, visits to plants and dealerships, as well as attending car shows all over the world and catalyzing remarkable model launches.
Obviously, this is not something you do by choice. This is something you find yourself in front of a necessity, and in front of an opportunity, because I don't think that many people will be doing something like this today, and I don't think we're going to have a lot of people doing something like this in the future. But in some circumstances, you need to do it, because it happens that you have the right background and you are the right person because of your experience, of your history, to do that. In my case, I was part of Renault. I went to lead Nissan. I came back to lead Renault. And for the shareholders of both companies, it appears that this is a good thing to make sure, as the two companies are linked by an alliance, that you have a person who is as legitimate from one side than from the other, as much experience from one side than from the others, to be heading the two companies. This is an opportunity much more than a necessity. So what it is like, for me, obviously it requires a lot of energy, because you spend a lot of time moving from one country to the other, from one culture to the other, from one company to the other. It requires a lot of organization, a lot of discipline. You need to make sure that you are focused on your priorities. You should not get involved into things where, even though they are very interesting, you don't have time to deal with them. You want to make sure that other people are dealing with them.
From the top of his position, Ghosn explains his role as him being the person responsible for making sure that the two companies are working together and developing synergies, but without ever confusing the two brands and the two identities of the corporation. Young CEO Franz Koch has been trusted with the highest position inside the iconic sportswear brand Puma. From his office in Herzogenaurach, Germany, Koch is in charge of managing the company's strategy, as well as coordinating almost 10,000 employees spread across 120 countries. The 32-year-old businessman beat out a field of 100 candidates to become CEO of Puma. If he seems young for the job, consider this. His predecessor, Jochen Zeitz, became CEO when he was just 30.
Puma is really not so much about the age. It's more about the competencies and the skills you can bring to the table. And we've seen that already in the past with my antecessor, Jochen Zeitz, who's been CEO of Puma for 18 years, and he actually became CEO at the age of 30 only. So I feel relatively old sitting here being 33-year-old and the CEO of Puma. But you know, I was very lucky in my previous position as head of global strategy that I was well known in the organization already on all levels in all regions and countries. So I was kind of present and I didn't have to fight for my reputation or credit in order to be respected as a leader. I think it naturally evolved into that. And today I'm very happy to sit here and being interviewed as the CEO.
Puma's chief executive officer since July of 2011. Prior to this position, Koch was a member of the company's board of management and was responsible for the long-term strategic development of the group. Former CEO Jochen Zeitz claims he picked Koch because of his exceptionally analytical yet most pragmatic mind. As a former professional field hockey player and a surfing, biking, and skiing enthusiast, Koch seems to have just the right credentials to lead the business. He remembers his early days as a dedicated athlete and points out that although he hasn't always been thinking about becoming a businessman, there's a lot of his sports philosophy in his management style.
At 12 years, I was certainly more interested in sports than anything else. I was playing field hockey a lot. I was actually, then as a kid playing for the youth national team in Germany. And my biggest dream was to participate in the Olympics one day. And I'm glad to report that I actually did win a major title with my team in Hamburg. We won the German championships in 2000, so that was a fantastic goal to work towards, and I'm very glad that I managed that. What's great about hockey is that it's a team sport, so you need to find your role within that team, and you need to ensure that your team members are with you and fully committed and work towards one goal. And I think that's exactly the same situation I'm in today. I can set the direction, I can inspire and motivate my people around me and put the right people together as a team, by the way, and then ensure that we are clearly focused in one direction and work towards one ultimate goal. and I'm kind of the coach or the captain, so to speak, for the team to become successful. And therefore, I believe there's many parallels in between sports and the professional life.
From sports to automobiles, Koch and Ghosn's success in their CEO positions has been driven by their ability to lead their companies wisely. Next on CEOs Unveiled, we'll take a closer look into some of the important moments in the life and career of Carlos Ghosn. Carlos Ghosn's career in the auto industry began in 1978 at Europe's largest tire maker, Michelin, where he worked for 18 years, moving up the ranks from plant manager to chief operating officer. He headed Michelin's South American and North American units during his tenure with the company, achieving success at both. He joined Renault in 1996 as executive vice president and was sent to Japan to revive Nissan 3 years later. At that time, things weren't going well at Nissan, so taking this challenge represented a big deal in Ghosn's career. The task would probably frighten most people in his position, but the CEO took it as an opportunity to grow.
I don't think you have turning points in careers. Obviously, you have opportunities which all of a sudden reveal you, okay? But I don't think these are turning points because you have many opportunities in your life. What is very important is look at them with open mind and look at them in a way which is not very limited, put them in perspective, and make sure you always appreciate the opportunity which is offered to you, and make sure you give the best of yourself. I don't think you can say, oh, all of a sudden I had a revelation, or no, I don't think this exists. Everybody has opportunities. Some people take it, some people don't. Some people don't take opportunity because they don't see them. Some people don't take their opportunity because they made the choice, say, okay, I'm not going to do that. It's happened to me. When I was offered the possibility to go to Japan, I could have said no. I said, I'm sorry, I'm in Paris, I'm fine, I'm in line to succeed the CEO of the company. Why am I going to go risk all of this to go to Japan? Opportunity came. I said yes. I could have said no. Okay? Then I would have said no, maybe my life would have been very different.
Today we know that saying yes was the best thing he could have done, as he was able to save Nissan from near ruin thanks to clever cost reduction strategies. But Ghosn hasn't always been considered a superhero in Japan. When he first arrived in Tokyo to revive the fortunes of Nissan, he faced some disapproval after cutting more than 20,000 jobs and closing assembly plants. He describes his first 90 days in the job as a period of area recognition and team assembly, as well as intense adaptation to such a different country.
The first 90 days, as in any mission like this, when you don't know the company, you don't know the country, you don't know the culture, is always a period of time where you spend listening to people, meeting them, visiting the main facilities of the company, to try first to understand above the numbers and all the analysis which have been made, what are the strengths and the weaknesses of the company that you will have to deal with. I met thousands of people at different levels inside the company, executives, technical people, sales people in different functions of the company, suppliers of the company, dealers, distributors of the company, even shareholders of the company, or people outside the company, analysts, journalists. I had to go through thousands of meetings with people. Most of them did not speak English, to try to understand the situation. A lot of people gave a hand and were supportive, but at the end of the day, this is something you're going to have to do by yourself. You're going to have to count on yourself. You're going to have to be extremely open. You're going to have to listen a lot, make your own analysis. Nobody's expecting you to give any message. Nobody's expecting you to give any direction. It's just absorbing the reality of the company.
So before implementing any plan, there was a very important first step in the job of the CEO, in which he needed to absorb and understand the situation of the company. The second step for Ghosn was putting together his team of executives. With so much going on, he affirms the essential skill he had to make the most of during this period was his ability for being